123 of the Followers of the Force podcast. I'm one of your hosts, David, along with Meg.
Hello.
And it is just the two of us because, one, we have lives and other people are busy. But two, we're going to be talking about Tempest Runner, another spoiler-free review / discussion. Can't even talk. Because the book or audio drama came out yesterday, and we were fortunate enough to get an early review copy, and we were able to read that or listen to it. That's going to be so hard not to do while we talk about this, because so used to reading rather than listening.
Right.
But yeah, so if you haven't listened to the story, that's fine. We're gonna just talk to you guys about it. No spoilers, and hopefully we hype it up enough so you guys can go out, buy it, and listen to it, because it is honestly amazing. And as you can see from the background right here, it is the woman of the hour, so to speak. Lourna Dee. So the story is all about her. We get a really, really in-depth look at where she comes from, her choices that have led her to where she is with the Nile, and where her character goes from this point forward. And we referenced other things that we've learned in The Rising Storm, Light of the Jedi, and it's just a really, really cool look at a very, very cool character. But Meg, since you've given us a short and concise review already, since we have a little bit more time to talk about it, what are your thoughts on the story now that we've gotten to live with it for a few days?
I can't wait to listen to it again. I just love these audio dramas. I just think, like, they may not be perfect. There are a few things with every single one of them that I've, things stand out to me, but like overall, they're just so well done, and they're so unlike anything we've gotten in book form, like within the past, I almost said decade, but kind of. Yeah, it's the story just feels completely different, because I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and normally with just a standard audiobook, it's one narrator doing all the voices and reading everything. Right. But with an audio drama, it's a full cast, and that just adds so much more to the experience than you'd think it would, like in comparison. Because I love that all Star Wars, or a lot of Star Wars books, they have the narration and the music and the sound effects, and it's fun to listen to. But with these audio dramas, they just go all in with everything. And like a lot of feedback with these is like some of the voice acting is really over the top, but I actually love that. Because I think it's just, it fits so well with, especially with this story. I just want everything to be big and explosive, and that's exactly what it is. I didn't know what to expect from this story. I mean, we know that Cavan Scott just can do anything and everything well. So I mean, there was no surprise there, but I didn't love Lourna Dee before this. Like I don't want to say I didn't care, but like her story just didn't, like, or what we knew about her just didn't grab me that much. And then this audio drama happened, and I'm like, are you like now one of my top 5 High Republic characters? It's very possible that that's the case.
Yeah. And I think another thing that helps that is the fact that it is performed. Yeah. The character is performed, and so I don't butcher her name, Jessica Almasi, who plays Lourna Dee in the audio drama, she does an amazing job.
Yeah.
It is incredible, because at least when you do voice work and animation, you have the ability to have your character also be on screen and, make the audience believe what you're doing,
right,
rather than just relying on your voice and inflections and, you know, acting the best way you can in a strictly audio format, which
mhm.
is super hard to do.
Yeah.
Um, and, you know, the whole cast did an amazing job.
Oh yeah.
Um, but it is true what you said about before this story, you really don't know. One, we don't know much about the character as far as where she comes from and why she's with this group. And I don't think a lot of people expected what eventually we learn about the character, how she got to be in that position. Um, and when you find that out, it is like, you're like, oh my gosh.
Right.
Like, it is when you learn the events that led her up to that point, you're like, yeah, I get it in a
Yeah.
way, you know,
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, I just want to be a part of a group like this because it's my calling. Like, no,
Mm-mm.
it's circumstantial. It's very gray as opposed to a black and white kind of thing.
Yeah.
Uh, and without spoiling anything, I go back to a question I asked you and Hannah on Saturday.
Mhm.
Uh, I was like, "Oh, is redemption possible for any of these characters?"
Mhm.
And obviously, I'm not saying one way or another because the book really doesn't tell you outright
Right.
um, where if that question's ever going to be answered.
Right.
But in those moments of testing her morality,
Mhm.
what did you gather from the character?
It's she's so complicated.
Yeah.
And something I think a lot of Star Wars storytelling does really well at some points is uh I just totally lost my train of thought. I got it back. It's um making a story completely about a character
Mhm.
without completely revealing everything about that character.
Right.
That was the case with the Phasma novel, where
Mhm.
you thought, like when I went into that, I thought, oh, we're going to know everything about Phasma. We're going to get inside her head.
Mhm.
No, the story wasn't even told from her perspective. So the mystery is still there. And, you know, we learn a lot. We learn a lot about Lourna Dee in this
Mhm.
audio drama, but it still leaves you kind of with, you don't know. You don't know
Yeah.
everything and you don't know what's going to happen later. And I love that. I don't want to know everything, especially
Right.
because this is only the very beginning of the High Republic. Like, I know it feels like we've been in this for a long time. We've a lot of stories. It's only the second wave of the first phase.
No, I know. It's
So,
nuts.
yeah, who know, like, the thing about that is we don't know, like, is Lourna Dee going to be like around and a central character this whole time? We don't know. And that's why I don't like, I appreciate that the story was the length that it was because we got that backstory and I'm trying so hard not to spoil things. It's very, very difficult. You know, we learn about more about who she is and as you said, how she gets to where she is, but there's still a lot we don't know. And I feel like I'm saying this a lot with a lot of different characters lately, but we
Mhm.
don't know everything that she knows. And I also love
Yeah.
that because I need that kind of mystery to keep me interested and keep me going. I don't want
Right.
to be told everything.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And it is a very. We also do have the theme of family again in
Mm,
this story, and how uh, they play a vital role in how you navigate through life.
mm,
Um, and those that moment or uh, that time in this story when you're finding out about her family and the things that happen between them
mhm,
that then cause her path to, you know, pretty much go one of two ways, and she chooses the way she finally does. It's not what you think.
mhm,
If you haven't listened to the story, I'm sure you might think because of what you know of the character from the other books that it's probably like, oh, she's hated them from, the moment she was born and just wants to get away. And it's like, no. And even telling you that, it's not spoiling it because it's so layered.
Yeah.
And it's done in such a way where it garners a lot of sympathy for her and also for her family and for where she's from. And did it bother you at all? Because it didn't bother me, and I actually really like the way they were able to distinguish between the present and the past. Did it bother you that like you would kind of be going back and forth throughout the story?
I think it's only problematic if you're really not listening closely. Like with podcasts, I'll kind of do that where I'll zone in and out, but it doesn't really matter. I really found that like I learned pretty quick that I had to be fully engaged if I was not going to get lost. That's the only thing. If you are fully listening, it's pretty easy to figure it out. I feel like they could have separated it like somehow with like, I don't know, some kind of like audio cue or something. But it also works to not have that. I think it really is just that this is a big difference between an audiobook and an audio drama. Is an audio drama really is you can't zone out or you're just not gonna things also happen really fast, so you're really not gonna be able to follow if you're kind of trying to do a million things at once while you're listening, which is what I tried to do. And after about like 30 minutes, I was like, yeah, no, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
But from like a storytelling perspective, I really like that it jumps back and forth because that's how the story kind of the story itself is really, it goes really, really quick. It keeps going, it keeps you engaged, and that's because it keeps jumping back and forth and it shows you here's what's happening, and then here's why she might be acting this way or thinking this way in this moment. So yeah, it kind of bothered me at first, but I think I got used to it.
Yeah, I think those audio cues for sure would help, especially if you're trying to listen to this while you're driving. We all zone out while we drive. I mean, it's really hard not to. So yeah, that definitely could have helped. Another thing about this story that it didn't bother me at all, and I was surprised because this era is very Jedi heavy. That this story, while it does have the Jedi and the events that have led to where we are at the beginning, it really doesn't focus on them as really characters at all. They're more like I don't know what's the best way to describe it, but they're more like they're just to further the plot. If that makes sense. But you still feel like they're there, like they're not absent from the story at all. They're just not, prominent, because the last few novels, it's been, you're always following one of them. And with this one, you're just not. And they show up here and there. But what this really did for me, it makes me want whether it be animated or live action Disney Plus series on just the Nile and what they do, how they were formed, like all of it. Because the visuals that you get listening to this and reading the other novels, and their tactics, their it lends itself perfectly to that kind of it's like the Mandalorian, but if you put like Sons of Anarchy in the world of Star Wars. It's kind of the same thing, because once you get to learn about the people that are a part of this group, it really and tell me if you felt the same way. I was expecting like hardened criminals, like people that were just not good people. And then when you're really getting into it, you're like, wait, some of these people could just be, looking for a place, and they just ended up here.
Right.
Did you get that sense too? Like you were like, wait, these people they're kind of normal, aside
Yeah,
from a couple.
yeah, I did. And that's like something really interesting that I want to know more about
Mm-hmm.
also is now we know Lourna Dee's story and how she got you could say tangled up in all this is not what
Yeah.
you would expect. So how many other Nile are like that?
Mm-hmm.
How many more of them are in this for, reasons we wouldn't have even thought about? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think with Star Wars, it's so easy still to think that like people are evil because they're evil. I mean, we have characters like that who just are evil for the sake of being evil and we don't know why and we're not supposed
Yeah.
to. But um, it makes things more gray because you think, this person is here doing bad things, but like the way that they got there and the reason that they're staying may not be for bad reasons.
Right.
Which is fascinating. I love Star Wars.
Yeah, and that's a testament to Cavan Scott. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a particular moment where let me see if saying this would spoil anything. Um, okay, Lourna Dee is in. I'll just say it for the I forget what it's called, but she's basically in a med bay,
Mhm.
and somebody who was pursuing her locks himself
Oh,
in there
I
with
forgot about
her.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, when I tell you, I was like, because the thing with the audio drama format
Mhm.
is that the acting really brings it to life, and you could like kind of visualize it a little more
Yep.
than a strict narration. Because if you had the narration, then you're getting the description of what's happening rather than the acting with the sound effects, with
Right.
the everything playing with each other. And yeah, you're just like, wait a second, is this actually going to happen in a Star Wars book? Like this is
Yeah.
a little dark.
Yeah,
Um,
I forgot about that part until you just mentioned it, but,
yeah,
um, see, that's like an example of, like, why this story is so good at what it's trying to do because I didn't expect that. You wouldn't like, it
mhm,
oh, it's so hard not to spoil it, or to
I
say too
know.
much. We're doing our best. It's you know, you get the how can I say this? You just don't think that with a character like that, that's gonna happen, and then it does, and you're like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
yeah,
there aren't just 2 sides, like, it's confusing. People are
yeah,
good, but they I might do bad things or the other way around. We need
right.
more of this, and we're getting more of these stories, especially in the High Republic, because it's all so people are just trying to survive.
Yeah,
We're just trying to figure out what emotions are, and,
yeah,
sometimes you don't do the right thing, and, uh
yeah, yeah. It's like if you think the events and the time that uh we've been following for the last geez 44 years.
Mhm,
um this time period is equally as screwed up,
mhm,
just because uh the Jedi are at their supposed height, it
mhm,
doesn't mean everywhere else is at that level as well.
right,
um and in that moment when the character in question that has locked himself in the room, what he starts saying about uh, the state of the Jedi and
mhm,
their motivations, and it's stuff that you can apply to real life.
right,
And I'm sure people that have been in certain situations have felt the exact same way. um, and when they have that kind of power in their hands, they would like to just do what they feel needs to be done and be
mm,
damned with everything else.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, like those moments are just it's it's so memorable, and I
yeah,
don't want to. You say anything more about it, and you're gonna spoil
exactly.
the scene. But uh, yeah, it's just written masterfully and performed even better. Um, but what was your favorite thing about the story? Like, was it? Just the expansion of the character? Was it where we got to go, who we got to meet, see? Like, if you could pinpoint one thing.
One thing.
I know it's hard. It's very hard.
I think definitely for me being like I'm all for like character driven stories and like not just seeing character development, but like seeing a character, like you getting in their head and seeing them try to make decisions based on what we know about them and trying to do the right thing and not always doing the right thing. This was very much a story. It did a lot of things, but it definitely expanded Lourna Dee's character and what we know about the Nile. And like, that's exactly what we needed at this time in where we're at in the High Republic timeline, because, you know, we started off, everything was good, and then it got darker, and then there was an attack, and it got even darker than that. And now it's like, okay, we've seen so much of the Jedi's perspective. I mean, we've gotten plenty of Nihil things, but now it's like, okay, here's a story that's specifically going to, like, it shows a little bit of the other side, but it's her kind of trying to deal with everything, and I just love that. I'm just trying so hard not to say too much, but yeah, I really like that. But also one thing that really stood out to me, as you said, we don't get a ton of the Jedi in this. It's not it will be a book. It's not a book. It's an audiobook. What's it called? It's a thing that you listen to with your ears. The Jedi, like, they appear here and there, but they're not like central to the story. But what we do get of them stood out to me so much. Like, especially at the beginning, like I just, it really struck me the things that they chose to focus on with them. Because it's not, because, you know, they come in and they're trying to save the day. That's not a spoiler, but what you see of that like attack and everyone that's involved in like what's happening to them and what they're going through, like, that's huge. It makes you really think about like what's going to happen with the Jedi as this keeps going on, because things are not going to get any better anytime soon.
Right.
And the things that they're dealing with are just going to get worse. And that makes me really worried for most, if not all, of the Jedi. Whoever we said the other night was going to survive, not very many of them, I don't think.
Yeah, no, because it's, when you go up against a force that just is relentless and doesn't care if you're a Jedi, doesn't care if you are the, I don't know, protectors of the galaxy or protectors of the Republic, whatever the case may be. Once they approach you that way, you have to fight differently. Like, it's not the same. But one thing that I think we really needed, and we got with this story, is I think we needed to get to know at least one person on that side, as well as we know the Jedi. And we got that, because in every movie and every show that we've seen, you know, whether it be, you know, Luke, Leia, Han, and then Darth Vader, or Anakin, with Rey, Ben, you always know at least that just as much of both characters, of both sides at least, where you have at least some level of understanding of why they are the way that they are. And now we got that, because with everyone else, maybe aside from Marchion Ro, they were kind of one note. You knew they were bad. You know, with Lourna Dee, you just now understand why she is the way that she is. And it's something that I think the best word that you could say is the future for her is going to be complicated. Like, it is going to be complicated, and it's not going to be easy, but it also has a chance to not be as difficult as maybe she thinks it is,
right?
or maybe we think it is. And I'm trying to be as vague as I can.
It's so hard,
but it's so hard.
Yeah.
Because I think with what we learn in this story about why she might feel this is hard.
It is.
I'm really trying to choose my words carefully here. I'll just say she's gonna leave, or her best option would be to leave as many options open. I'll just say that, because while she has enemies, and I mean she's gonna have a lot of them by the end of this thing, she might also have a few friends. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. I'm not gonna say who the friends are, but we'll see. But yeah, if you guys haven't listened to Tempest Runner, if you haven't read The Rising Storm or any other books in the High Republic, I highly recommend it. I know we've gotten very used to the characters that we know and the time we know and the stories that we've come to get very familiar with. But I'll tell you, the team that they've assembled to do these, it's going to get you hooked right away. Characters are written great. The performances are amazing. And in my opinion, they're treating the writing of these novels the way that The Mandalorian has treated the directing of the episodes. We're just, we're having a new voice come in into these different, times in the linear story. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Meg, do you have anything else to add to this spoiler-free discussion? Which, again, guys, I'm going to remind you, on Saturday, we're spoiling the hell out of this story.
Finally.
So,
finally I can speak words.
I
would definitely say in general, like, the High Republic itself and all these stories within it are designed so that you don't have to read every single one if you don't have time, if it's not really your thing, if you want to pick and choose. Like, if that's what you want to do, you can. You're not like, you can figure it out. I would highly recommend reading all of them anyway. Even the middle grade novels. Middle grade is just a label that they put on books based on the ages of the characters and the reading level. Actually, the middle grade books have been some of my favorite stories to read, like the ones that I felt like are the most fun. Because like, even like Racer Crash Point Tower, for example, dark things are happening in that book, but I laughed out loud like multiple times reading it. Because it's that kind of book. It's designed to be that way. It's like a nice palate cleanser after The Rising Storm, because if you haven't read it yet, you're gonna need it. You're really gonna need it. So yeah, like there's a lot. There's a lot of books. There's a lot of comics. There's now the audio drama. If you can, I would highly recommend reading. Again, you don't have to read in order, but if you can get around to all of it, do it, because it's worth it to get all the writers and to get all the stories all the characters appear in all the, like, they cross between stories. So if you like one character, you're going to be able to see them again somewhere else. Do it. It's, this is like, there's other Star Wars happening, because there will always be, because we're just going to keep getting more Star Wars than we think we can handle, but we can handle it. We're good. Make the High Republic something that you just continue to follow, because we are about to get a gap, which we need, because we need to breathe for a minute. And writing needs to happen, I guess, for whoever's writing next. But yeah, just don't skip it. It's all worth it. Even the comics, like, if you're not a comics person anyway, just read them, because they're good. But this audio drama is, first of all, if you do listen to it and you really like it and you haven't listened to the other audio dramas, there are two other ones. Cavan Scott wrote Duke of Jedi Lost, and then there's the Dr. Aphra one. Listen to those two because they're different, but they are very similar in terms of like, if you like things about this one, you'll like things about those two.
Right.
There's a really unique format compared to everything else we're getting. And, one a year is like perfect because it's something that we're not always getting. And so it's like a treat in the middle of the year. And I like it. So,
it is. So there you have it, guys. Just our spoiler-free discussion of Tempest Runner. Again, if you haven't read The Rising Storm, Light of the Jedi, Into the Dark, the young adult novels, anything in the High Republic, again, it isn't required of reading that you read everything, but it is a little rewarding when you know what's happened, little references here and there. But it is right now is the closest thing that Star Wars has to something like the MCU, because we're getting all these stories interconnected with the same characters showing up in all the books. So yeah, definitely go and get it, listen to it. It's only like 6 hours, right? It's about 6 hours.
Yep.
And it flies.
Yep.
Like, it will get you hooked and you won't want to put it down. Or press pause, whatever you do with the listening stuff. But yeah, guys, thank you for listening. We've got a Your Star Wars Journey episode already up today where Meg spoke with Emma of Utini. The other one with Becca Benjamin of Tarkin's Top Shelf will be coming out next Wednesday. We've got Words Between Worlds recording this Friday night on Patreon if you guys want to become patrons for just $1. And like I've mentioned about 4 times, we've got our spoiler-filled discussion on Tempest Runner on Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you can squeeze in 6 hours of listening from now until then, we would love to see you there. And until next time, guys, may the Force be with you always.